opioid overdose on the very same night. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having
I'm sure I
us.
speak for everyone when I say we are so sorry for your loss. Becky, the night that your sons died, on paper, you did everything right. You were there. You took the younger boys fishing. You were there. You waited for them. They came home. They made curfew. You spoke to them.
Mm-hmm.
How did they seem when you spoke to them?
They seem fine. And that's why I thought, well, they're home. They're home safe. And I went to bed. I went upstairs and turned my light off, and they went into the kitchen to make bagels and cream cheese.
Had they already taken the oxycodone and the alcohol at that point?
They had. Mm-hmm.
But you couldn't tell, and you're a nurse.
I could not tell. They weren't slurring their words. They, like I said, I made eye contact with one of them, and they seemed fine.
Did you find out whether they had ever taken oxycodone or a drug like that before?
We are not aware that they had. We've never had issues with our sons doing any kind of street drugs or any kind of prescription drugs or anything of that nature. So that's why when we found out what they had died of, it was a complete shock to us.
I understand they got the drug oxycodone, which is a painkiller. A lot of people have this in their medicine cabinets after you have a procedure or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
They got it from another young man who was sentenced. He was tried and he was sentenced and sentenced to 18 months in prison. I know you believe that in a way he was more dangerous than a drug dealer on the street.
Well, that's what the judge had when she had handed down his sentence, which he wasn't tried directly in connection with Nick and Jack stuff because they couldn't prove that's where they had gotten the medication from. However, she handed down a harsher sentence for him because she said you were more dangerous than a drug dealer on the street because you had their trust. Mm-hmm. You had these kids' trust, and that way you were more dangerous.
I can only imagine the powerlessness, Mike, you felt getting that call. Was Becky the first one who called you that morning?
Well, I think she tried to get a hold of me, and then ended up our neighbor came up and got me at the lake house and came in and said there was trouble at the house. Jack's unresponsive, and they can't find Nick. So at that point, I jumped right in the car, and she took care of the two boys that were there with me, and I came home at that point.
The bargaining that goes on in the wake of losing someone, right?
Yeah.
The denial that it's happened, just the bargaining of, take me, especially as a parent.
Yeah, you just so many things go through your mind, you keep telling yourself, you don't think the worst, you think that everything's going to be okay, you're hoping, but in the back of your mind, I think I think it's just something you can't even describe, really, so very difficult.
Matthew, I know you've been with your parents through all the things that they've done since the death of your brothers. What kind of big brothers were they?
Just chill.
Chill? Easy going?
Yeah.
And you're the youngest? Yeah. How are you doing today?
Doing all right.
His mom says he's a man of few words, but he hasn't missed any one of the events.
He hasn't, and I think that is probably maybe his way of healing too, because he likes to attend everything we do, kind of sit in the outskirts of what we're doing, but knowing that he's a part of something and changing lives.
And what you're doing is something called the 525 Foundation, which is a number that's meaningful to you. Tell us why.
It is. 525 Foundation, we came up with that number. We have a picture as we were going through photo albums of Nick and Jack's hockey jerseys behind a shot taken from behind them. And they were lined up perfect. Jack was number 5 and Nick was number 25. So we thought, what a better way to memorialize the boys than call it the 525 Foundation.
And you're trying to draw attention to what exactly, Mike? The problems of opioid at the high school level amongst our kids?
I think right now, Becky spoke a lot at the high schools, and I think it's bringing the awareness and then the education of it. I myself, I can speak for myself. Didn't even hit my radar about opioid drugs and prescription drugs. So if we can make parents aware, and make kids aware that this is something that it happens across all socioeconomic spectrums, you know, it's.
And to good kids, honor roll kids who
Good
were not
kids.
druggies, they were not
Mm-mm.
problem kids.
That's right.
Becky, do we know how much they took? Like, did you ever get to the bottom of, you say they made a bad decision that night, but how bad it was, you know?
Yeah, I don't know exactly how many they took or if it was just one that they took, but I know that it only takes one to kill them, especially in correlation with alcohol when there's alcohol involved as well. So,
And I know, I mean, at many levels, the country's starting to fight this epidemic. The distribution of the drugs and so on. There was a disturbing piece on 60 Minutes the other night suggesting we're not trying hard enough. But you're trying to get at something different. You're trying to speak to the kids. And that's why you go into these high schools and you tell this story over and over again, as painful as it is for you. What effect has that had? What kind of feedback have you had from high schoolers?
we've had a wonderful response to it. And what we do is we just go into the high schools and I show a few pictures of Nick and Jack, just trying to connect with the students that they were kids just like most of you. They enjoyed sports, they had good grades, they were involved in things. And then we talk about their story, and I talk about, start with their death. On June 14th, 2015, these two boys died. And usually the crowd just goes quiet. And then we talk about what happened and how bad choices can be made when you mix alcohol with prescription drugs, and that they have a choice to make better decisions. And it's neat that afterwards, I'm usually, a lot of kids will come up and they'll be like, thank you so much for saying the story. My parents have had issues with this. And so it's just a way that they can start talking and having that conversation.
They've saved lives. The loss of your son's lives has wound up saving lives. I know a mother of triplet boys came and said they declined to take a drug just like oxycodone at a party, understanding the story of the savages. And hopefully others watching this today and listening to you as you talk about 525 will reinforce the message with their own children that prescription drugs can be lethal too, even taken in small doses, even for the first time.
Yes.
Thank you for telling your story.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for having me here.
You're pretty chill too.
Matthew.
You can learn more about the 525 Foundation at today.com/Megyn Today. We'll be right back.
So you think this ship is nothing to worry about? Well, at Safe Flight, we know sooner or later